Welcome to the Wellness Plus podcast, brought to you by wellnessplus.tv. I'm joined today by Chandler Rose, licensed massage therapist. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Karina. Always fun to work with you.
Definitely, you as well. Pretty much all of us can agree that we lead stressful lifestyles, and all of us could benefit from reducing our stress, feeling less irritable and stressed out and all of that. So I was hoping that maybe you could kind of lay out some basic guidelines for how to reduce and manage our stress so that we can be happier, more productive, more friendly, and less irritable people.
I work with a lot of people under a huge amount of stress, both physically and mentally. So they teach me a lot about balance and having enough balance in your life. A lot of us put work first and then maybe family next, or maybe family first and work next. But putting yourself first every day, having a practice for yourself, is super important for reducing stress levels and staying relaxed. Myself personally, I really think making a point to get outside is very important. Connecting with nature, the sounds of nature, fresh air. We talked about that a little bit when we were working together yesterday. Even just being around trees and plants and green space can encourage us to breathe deeper and really slow down. Taking a walk. I take walks every day.
Yeah. And it's interesting what you said about, putting ourselves first. Because interestingly, in so many ways, we are very, I think, ego-driven beings, but at the same time, when it comes to our priorities, so to speak, you're right that we don't usually put ourselves first. It's our job. It's our family. It's, of course, our bills and all of those things that are super important, but the idea of taking care of ourselves, taking time to get a massage or do something that's really just for us, it's really not something that most of us prioritize. And I think for, certainly for myself, when I'm feeling really stressed out, I feel like the last thing I could possibly have time for is getting a massage or going to a yoga class.
Right.
So
fully agreed. A lot of us just go to sleep, and rest is really important too. Sleep is important, but even taking 10 to 20 minutes before you go to sleep and creating a stretching practice, creating a space if you have a partner. I know a lot of people come to me because their partners are not willing to work on them. They're not willing to massage them because massage is hard, or it can seem like it's hard. But we actually have a lot of videos that can help anybody work on their partner. We have a lot of videos involving stretching and yoga.
Right.
And that 20-minute practice could be a little massage for you, a little massage for your partner. Maybe you just lay down a yoga mat and put on some soft music and do some self-massage with one of our videos.
Right.
It's not hard. It's just a matter of making the time for that quiet space. So much of what we do and so much of what I see with all the people I work with is just that everything is about doing or getting something done or making money or achieving. And there isn't much that is the opposite of that, which is about slowing down and connecting with the earth, or being in our body and actually feeling, wow, our bodies work really hard for us.
Right.
We're in our head a lot and we forget about our bodies. So making a priority to either have self-care practices every day, whether that's a little bit of meditation. Meditation can be intimidating too. I meditate, but I only practice maybe 5 to 10 minutes at a time. I myself have a lot that I need to do in a day. So even 5 minutes is very effective for getting you out of that kind of stress routine that, you know, you can wake up and just peek at your phone and you're back in that kind of stress.
Right.
What do I need to do? Who do I need to respond to? What emails need to be sent? This whole technology age has overloaded us all with tasks that were once different. You know, there was a space for work, and then you went home and there was a space for that, and now it's all crossing over. So really making a space. I personally think hydrotherapy is important. Any kind of water. You know, we live in Texas. It's really hot here in the summertime.
Right.
So finding a spot where you can get in some nice natural water, cold water is really good for the body, really good for stress. Cooling the body is good. Using ice packs is another form of hydrotherapy. Also, you know, soaking in warm water is really good too. So making a priority to find a space where you can soak your body.
Cool. So it sounds like, you know, maybe step one is just setting aside a certain part of your day that you're just going to stop. Checking your phone, thinking about your to-do list, thinking about all of those stresses that we think about for the other 23 hours and some odd minutes of the day. Well, I guess while we're sleeping, not. But, you know, so maybe for those of us that are feeling really stressed, you know, maybe you just start out with 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes a day. Just going to close my eyes. And, you know, for me, you're totally right about, you know, the word meditation. Kind of, it's a little, it makes us a little nervous. We kind of feel like, oh, am I doing this right or whatever?
Right.
You know,
it doesn't have to be like that.
Yeah. So for me, myself, I'm like very semantics oriented, and it's very helpful for me to just say, I'm going to do 3 minutes of deep breathing.
Yes,
And
that's
focusing on my breath. And I don't really call it meditation, but I think it really is the same thing.
Sure it is.
But basically, you're just taking time to slow down, to stop worrying about all of those different things, and do something for yourself.
Exactly.
So it can be, you know, taking a couple minutes outside to just, you know, breathe slowly and deeply and think about, you know, for me, I feel like thinking about my breath is what helps keep my mind occupied, so I'm not worrying and stressing out about everything else.
Yes, I agree with you. It's a good practice to start with.
Yeah.
And the more you can tune into your breath and slowing your breath, and how, wow, that can really make you feel more relaxed, just simply breathing deeper. And maybe it isn't even a space that you have time for 3 minutes. Maybe it's standing in a line somewhere.
Ooh, finding that time somewhere else. I like that.
Yeah.
Because we're in the age of multitasking. I mean,
We
as
are.
we're sitting here doing podcasts, right? We're in the age of multitasking. But I think, you know, it's great to just empower people to, you know, find that time.
Yes.
Wherever it may be. Find
Right.
that time. So slowing down, focusing on your breath, because that's something that really helps us to slow down, and doing something good for ourselves.
Right.
So taking a hot bath, doing some stretching, doing some self-massage, you know, and I think, you know, you kind of touched on something there that kind of gets to the heart of it, which is that it's not that stretching is difficult.
Right.
Or that taking a bath is difficult, or that focusing on our breathing is difficult. The difficulty is in setting aside the time for it.
Yes.
Because we are inside of this kind of mental Rubik's Cube of always feeling like there's not enough time and we're too stressed out and I don't have time to slow down. But what you're saying is that actually, if you can take that time to slow down and take care of yourself, it's going to have such drastic effects on reducing your stress, helping you think more clearly, helping you to, you know, improve your health in all of those ways that reducing cortisol and other stress hormones supports your health.
Right.
That's actually going to be better for you than using that time to, you know, write bills or get something else done.
Yeah. I mean, And our relationships too, you know, I mean, so much of our relationships with other people, work or otherwise, take the extra time that we have, which is really great that, you know, so much of what we're doing is thinking about others. But again, you're not coming back to you, and you're not, you know, really looking at the self-care if you don't make a point to make the time for it.
Right.
And when you do make the time for it, it helps your immune system. It helps your sleep. It helps your interactions with other people.
Oh, yeah. So you're less irritable.
Right.
You have better relationships with the people in your life. And I can say that for myself, that I notice when I'm taking care of myself and really doing my self-care regimen and trying to focus on reducing my stress levels, that I get along with people better.
Right.
In my life.
Yeah. And that your body, the more often you get, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be a strict thing. Even for myself, if I have a really busy work week, maybe I have 6 days where I don't have a lot of self-care. But I make a point, you know, all right, after this many days, I need a day of rest. And so much of our rest, even just resting, whether that means laying down or reading a book or, you know, just getting away from the doing part of it, and the resting part, giving yourself permission to rest is super important.
Yeah. Cool. So we talked about slowing down, doing something like just focusing on your breath or getting outdoors. I love your idea of using hydrotherapy, so either through taking a hot bath or swimming in cool water. I mean, I love swimming in natural water. That's just probably one of my all-time favorite things. What are some other, I guess, examples of self-care, you know, that you think are good, simple things that people should start doing?
I personally think being outside is probably the number one way for me to get out of my kind of technical mind and back into my body. And also, it depends on the person, but for me, I really enjoy a certain amount of time alone. And I think a lot of us do, but we just do the best with what we have. So creating a space, you know, in nature where you can rest, relax, you know, do some breathing techniques, even just noticing where you are, you know, your 3-minute technique, if you can do that outside and really just get out of the space in your mind of thinking and slowing down. Going for walks is, for me, it's hugely important. I have 2 little dogs who, to me, are my therapists. They, you know, it forces me to get outside more. And some people have pets and they're not outside people. But for me, you know, having that element really helps as well, because, you know, same for animals. Animals need to connect with nature too. So if, you know, there are ways too, and other people have pets. So even just like taking a dog for a walk is a way to ground out and kind of get in touch with nature and, you know, have this companion with you.
Yeah. For a second to kind of go off on this tangent about our pets. So, you know, I have dogs as well, and it's very interesting how you can observe in your dog how, like, they need to go outside. Like, not just to use the restroom or whatever. I mean, there's that too, but like, they need to be outside. And when I take my dogs hiking and I take them outdoors and I just see them become these like ecstatic little beings of joy. I mean, they are so happy. And so I will look at my dogs and be like, wow, they need that time outdoors. They need exercise. And when they don't get it, they don't behave. They're noticeably unhappy. And so I just kind of carry that over to myself. And I'm like, you know, our bodies obviously are very different from dogs, but in the aspect that, like, we need exercise.
And we need to run
movement
too. We need to run around. It doesn't have to be a strict kind of running regimen, but we all need to get outside sometimes and just run. For me, this is kind of a special time of year because it's starting to get really hot. And so having dogs, and I actually have a dog that's all black who is extra sensitive to sunlight. But now I've really made a point to walk after dark. I mean, as long as it's a safe area.
Right.
Because the nights in Texas can be really beautiful. They're still quite warm.
Right.
But if you want to get your heart rate up and your dogs need time outside that isn't, super intense heat or sunlight, walking in the evening or going after the sun goes down or at that time of night.
Right.
And adding a water element. You and I have our favorite spots here, and I really find being near water sounds is very good. And I have, kind of a synthetic pool with a waterfall feature. But I always think it's so interesting because I can sit right next to this, essentially fake waterfall, and it still brings my parasympathetic system down or it activates it in a way that I feel that sound is so powerful, getting you back to that place of feeling grounded.
For those listening, in case they don't know, so parasympathetic nervous system, that's like our resting, they call like the rest and digest. That's where we're sleeping, our body's healing, we have our immune function and all of those things coming in, as opposed to the part of our nervous system most of us spend our time in, the fight or flight or sympathetic nervous system.
Right.
So you're saying that just listening to water sounds, even from this, fake waterfall or whatever, triggers that relaxing feeling, that parasympathetic nervous system.
Yep.
Very cool.
And it reminds me of something I find really important as a parent. I have a 4-year-old daughter, and sleep, of course, is hugely important for both of us, and anyone that has young children knows sleep is hard and very valued when it happens. So I find really making a point to make transitions smoother with elements that induce relaxation really helps me, and it helps her move throughout the day. So maybe it's, before bed, a few hours even, starting to turn the lights down and starting to practice some routines of, reading books or putting on rain sounds or putting on, music that's relaxing for you. It doesn't have to be a spa type soundtrack, but, maybe there's something without dialogue that really gets you into that place of getting ready to rest, because I find the challenges of life in general is there's just not enough time for rest or relaxation. And so, again, it's making a point for yourself to create those spaces, whether it's, thinking about the lights in your house. There's so much LED happening and, and thinking about how, using less light can really reduce other things as well. And then water sounds, any kind of hydrotherapy. I really love using ice, on my neck or head if I have too much stress or headaches, which can happen a lot. And most of us have a certain amount of body pain due to stress. So practices that can reduce that are helpful, and really helpful for children too. The more you can show them that you have some self-care practices. I find with children, they really want to do whatever it is you're doing. So, I'm not a yogi by any means, but I do find yoga and stretching valuable. And I don't know, as much as maybe the next person, but my daughter loves trying to do yoga with me, or just even having a mat on the floor, and maybe you're just laying down, hugging your knees to your chest and just simple stretching, even if you're not a yoga master. Even the yoga world has turned into extreme, workouts and tensions. So finding whatever your practice is and making sure you make time for that every day.
Yeah. So maybe the underlying message or whatever is just that you move your body. whether it's stretching or yoga, taking a walk, and swimming. Talk about a wonderful thing. And then you're getting movement, you're outdoors, and the hydrotherapy. So something like swimming is maybe a really great idea for reducing stress.
Definitely.
And for, most of us also, have an intention that we want to get healthier, we want to be in better shape or whatever. So doing that increased movement is also going to help you with all of those other things that you kind of want as well.
Yeah. Well, and, it reminds me of when I was working on you the other day and you really like your ears cupped. And some people do. They like that inner sound. But you can also do that if you're a swimmer, if you can get into a pool or some sort of water place and just go underwater for, a few seconds. Like even that space of being away from whatever the world is bringing at you is powerful, even if it's just for a moment or two. That noticing, I feel so much of what I love about doing massage and talking about relaxation is really just embracing the present moment. And so much of what we're doing is about getting to the next place. But when you're talking about practices that slow us down, it's really about just being here and how you can best, utilize this space even and be the most relaxed person you can be wherever you are.
Right. And so that'd be, I guess, mindfulness.
Mindfulness, yeah.
Which, again, is kind of one of these words. It kind of reminds me of meditation in that sense that, like, when you say it, you kind of feel your body kind of brace up a little bit. You're a little bit like, whoa, mindfulness. Oh, what is this?
Right.
And so it's just kind of interesting how, we are very linguistic beings. And sometimes, just the simple thing of like letting go of the word,
right,
is actually really helpful to me. So if I'm like, I need to practice more mindfulness, I feel like it's not a tangible thing.
Right.
So we'll kind of take that word out, but you're just talking about enjoying the moment, noticing the moment. There was actually a couple years ago, I just remembered this talking about it, but I came up with a little acronym for myself. That when I was feeling stressed, I would think about this cute little cartoon character named Brent.
Okay.
And it was my little reminder thing. And so it's breathe, relax. So that's things like noticing if I'm clenching my jaw or if I'm doing the thing where you wear your shoulders like earrings.
Yes.
So it's like take a deep breath, relax my shoulders, relax my jaw, relax my eyebrows. Because I always will notice that I'm furrowing my eyebrow if I don't make a decision to notice it.
Right.
So it's like my body scan, trying to relax my muscles. So BR and then E, enjoy. Enjoy the moment. Find something about wherever I am, whatever I'm doing. Am I sitting in traffic? Am I standing in line at the grocery store? Well, I'm going to enjoy that I am at a grocery store and I'm about to go home and enjoy all this awesome food. I'm finding something to enjoy about the moment. In noticing my surroundings, and I'll try to kind of go through my 5 senses a little bit. So noticing a sound I hadn't noticed before, noticing something, visual I hadn't noticed before,
right.
Which is great to do outside because you're going to notice trees and birds and this crazy plant and whatever.
Yeah.
And then the last one, T, is being thankful. So breathe,
I love that.
Relax, enjoy, notice, and thank. Brent. And that's my
Yay.
little
Ooh, I'm going to use that.
Yeah.
I mean, being thankful is big too, because when you're really busy, it's hard sometimes to remember what you're thankful for because you're in that stress place.
Yeah.
So making a point, like you said, you have that little trick. And I really think any moment that you're taking to slow down is, in essence, being thankful for where you are.
Right.
And that's important because that vibe of gratitude will bring in other positive elements into your life. And I even think, talking about sounds and gratitude, music Whatever. I mean, you can't always influence where you are, and sometimes you're in the denseness of a city and you can't get away from sounds. But if you have relaxing music, or if you have music that isn't relaxing, but it takes you away from whatever you're trying to fix, because most of us we're constantly trying to do more, and not just accept where we are. So there's something about that, being thankful and accepting where you are. And for me, music and having a child has been huge, because she can be in a space of tantrums, and then I can put on the right song on the radio, and she shifts really quickly.
Wow.
And so with children, that's really helpful, because, with children, it's like you're trying to do all that, but you're also caretaking these other little beings too. So having an element to chill them out will allow you.
That is so interesting too. A couple of years ago, I did some interviews with a woman that runs the Center for Music Therapy here in Austin.
Awesome.
And she works with so many different types of issues and conditions that are really radically improved by music. And one of the things she talked about was that it was really important that you find the music that you like.
Right.
And she was like, what's funny is that when you're really working with people, sometimes the music that helps them to relax and feel more calm is actually like metal.
Yeah.
Heavy metal, screaming
it
loud
is.
music. And she's like, so, it doesn't have to always be, Enya or whatever. And for some people, that music will stress them out.
Right.
And it will make them, more anxious, more upset, whatever. So she just really emphasized that you listen to your body, so to speak, and that, whatever music it is, you don't have to fit into a box of relaxing music or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That you find what you truly enjoy.
Right.
And then that like that is your music, your therapy or whatever.
Yeah. And I bring it up a lot with my massage clients too, because there is this kind of stigma around new age music. And to be honest, I don't love a lot of it. Like, I have a few stations that are good and really zen me, or I've listened to it for so many years, I don't even hear it. And so now I really invite the client to choose whatever music they like. And I had a client on Maui that loved listening to Alan Jackson, and that was just what he loved. And and that relaxed him. And maybe that's not your cup of tea, which is fine. But for me as a therapist, if the person is relaxing deeper and that music choice helps them to kind of go to that, maybe it's even a happy space, because sometimes it's not as much about relaxing. Even for my daughter, she's little, and so music for her, she really craves anything that's like really happy sounding, like very positive and like rhythmic. And it's kind of nice to incorporate different kinds of music into therapy treatments, whether it's your own time where you're, just sitting down for your 3 minutes and, whatever music you want to put on. Maybe that's all you do is just put on, a song you love even. But yeah, I think music is such an interesting element, because there's also this like memory piece to it too. That's so ingrained in us. And, and there's also different times of day where maybe certain music is more appropriate. Like, as a parent, my daughter likes to have a dance party before bedtime. She loves that. And sometimes I'm into it. Sometimes I have enough energy and we do that, and we play pop music super loud and we dance for like 20 minutes, and then we put on rain sounds and crash. Now, that kind of music will wire children. So, making that choice, you're committed, right? And with massage too, like if I am playing music during a massage that's really upbeat, sometimes I play reggae if the person is open to it, because it's kind of more energetic for me.
It's very positive.
Very positive.
Very uplifting.
And that creates kind of a session that is more about creating energy in the body. So certain sounds certainly, bring up our vibration or bring them down, whatever that means to you. But sounds are powerful. And maybe it's for someone that has so much sound stimulation, Maybe it's techniques like cupping the ears or turning sounds off and just having the space of natural sound.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's a dog barking outside, or I've worked in so many different places, environments, tropical birds, construction, I mean, you name it.
Right.
And the interesting part to me is that whatever sounds there are, as long as they're this kind of organic, natural sound of whatever it is, it's very comforting for people. Even crazy construction, I'm always shocked during massages how people will just zen out.
Yeah. There is something oddly relaxing about like lots of traffic noise and stuff. So here in Austin, we definitely have our fair share of traffic, but the couple of times that I've like stayed in a hotel in Dallas or Houston, you know, which are bigger, more bustling cities or whatever, there's something that I find really interestingly relaxing about like hearing all that noise out of the hotel window.
Yeah.
And there is something about all the cars or whatever and somebody's car alarm going off in the distance. And then kind of, you know, to contrast that, I also super love nature sounds.
Right.
And, you know, I have this effect sometimes where, you know, part of my getting ready to go to bed, you know, routine involves, you know, turning off the overhead lights. I'll turn on my little Himalayan salt lamp. So I have like a little like bit of like natural glow, but it's very different than the like intense light.
Right. Me too. I love that.
Or whatever. So I try to like noticeably shift, you know, the light in the room. It's different than it's been all day. I usually am under a lot of light. And then I start turning off the electronic devices, and I immediately become just really, really amazed at how much background noise there just always is. And we just don't even notice it, you know? So I have a little power strip where I have, you know, the TV and the computer are all kind of like hooked on this one power strip. So I just hit this one button and all the electronic devices go off. And it's like the room gets, you know, significantly quieter.
Right.
And it's almost eerie. And then I'll start to hear the crickets outside. And I'll start to hear a bird way off in the distance, you know. We're kind of in the middle of the city or whatever. So, but we'll hear birds and we'll hear this and you'll hear like cats, and there's this herd of coyotes that's kind of back in the neighborhood behind us. But it's just really interesting for me, even just like noticing that contrast between like the jungle of city noises,
right,
and how oddly in a way I find that relaxing, but then I also feel it, you know, what a big shift there is when I start to try and turn those noises off and, you know, or walk outside, even better. And then you really get immersed in a lot more natural noises.
Yeah.
But it's just such a, you know, something that we, I think, take for granted
right
all the time, all the different sounds and stuff that we're hearing.
Right.
But it has a really big effect on us. And I notice that in myself pretty much every day.
Yeah. Mood is definitely influenced by stimulation. And, you know, that can be lights, that can be environment, that can be stressors. It can be sounds, you know, and all those things can be manipulated in a way that can really shift mood.
Right. So let's maybe take that path, you know. So how could we look at the different senses? You know, so we just talked a lot about sound, about music, about noticing the sounds. And that whole kind of conversation kind of started, we were talking about gratitude. You know, an interesting thing about gratitude and being thankful. There is a Neuroscience article that was published where they actually like went through and they were looking at like different things that you could do that would have a relaxing effect on the brain. And just trying to think of something that you were grateful for. Like they were actually able to hook people's brains up to whatever, and they were figuring all this out. That whether you thought of something that you're thankful for or not, you had the positive effect on your brain chemistry.
Wow,
just
I love that.
The mere act of sitting there and going, I'm going to think about something that I'm grateful for.
Right.
It had this like whole kind of synergy of effects on the brain and the different, you know, hormones and neurotransmitters that would be released just from starting to try and think about something that you're grateful for. And that brought a lot of comfort to me, learning that. Because sometimes you sit there and it can feel a little hard to come up with something that you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Especially while you're sitting in traffic or you're in line at the DMV or whatever.
Right.
So that made me feel a lot better, knowing that, just the mere act of thinking about being grateful, having intention to be grateful for something, it gives you that positive, neurological effect.
Yeah. I mean, and it's true with, it's really important, being in a place where there's so many people. Austin's super, super dense. And so that kind of thing is really important because, maybe you're in traffic, but maybe you stop somewhere and you get out of your car and you've had just, this effort of putting, thinking of something that you're grateful for. And I do that a lot because life is hard, it's just... It's
is stressful.
And the world has a lot going on. So, if you do that and then you get out of your car and, maybe the next person isn't feeling that, but you're there, your interaction with that person will hopefully be better. And if it isn't, you're still in a space of, hopefully bringing in more gratitude, and that does affect each other. And I really notice it living in a city with so many people,
right,
that your vibe or your intention or your goal or whatever it is, it affects your neighbor a lot. And sometimes people don't like when you're like the relaxed one, or you seem like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
There's the other side of it too. So just the noticing part. But it's really interesting what you said about the brain actually, the chemicals are there. Like, the effort is the important piece of it.
Right.
That it doesn't take much, you don't need to be like practicing meditation.
You don't have, right, exactly.
You can create spaces in your mind with the intention and effort of gratitude, or just being open, being open to something instead of thinking about what you can't do, being open to something else coming in.
Yeah, taking that moment to kind of step back or whatever, take the bird's eye view, so to speak, of your situation, that like, if you're in line at the DMV, at least you have a car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're in line at the grocery store, I can be thankful that I have money for groceries. I can be thankful that I have a house and a kitchen to cook in.
Yep.
I'm so thankful that I've, been able to learn the information that I need to live a healthy lifestyle.
Exactly.
I know so much. We live in a day and age where we have access to healthy foods, exotic foods, a huge variety of foods that, is really incredible. So just taking that like one example of gratitude. So we were talking about music. I was hoping we could kind of go through the senses a little bit.
Cool.
Talking about ways that we can reduce stress, take care of ourselves. This whole idea of helping the body to relax.
Right.
Or whatever. So we talked about music. We talked about the sounds of nature and all of those different things, just noticing them and having gratitude for them. What's maybe another one of the senses we could use? So we could do like smell.
So I think smell for me is personal and important. I really love working with plants, and I love cooking with, things that are vibrant and healthy. And even if you're not a cook and you can go into a place where, fresh herbs are being used, or garlic, or, maybe it's a place that has nourishing soups or juices, and the smell, you and I like to, have fresh juices sometimes, and even being next to the place where they're just juicing, the smell of the juicing is like, oh, I feel better already. I haven't even, had a sip yet, but like I can smell the carrots being, juiced or whatever. essential oils, of course. I love essential oils, and there's a lot out there, and there's low quality, high quality, and it doesn't really matter. I think it's nice if you can have something that you like on you, because it's such a small tool to carry with you that if you are in a stressful situation, the way our senses take in smell, connects with memory and relaxation.
Oh, yeah.
And today I was just looking through my essential oil book, and there was maybe 10 or 20 that were all oils that make you drowsy, which I was like, whoa, I didn't even know that, because so much of what, for sleep, we think of, we have to take like a sleep aid of some sort, but there's so many oils
20 different essential oils that can help you with sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Wow. So yeah, smell is important, and that kind of ties back into getting outside, and just, for me personally, trees are super healing. I was just on Maui, and whenever people talk and think about Hawaii, they're like, oh, were you at the beach? Were you in the ocean every day? And I do love the ocean and the smells of the ocean and the salt. That's healing. But for me, there's this like really, really beautiful forest with all these eucalyptus trees, and they're up at the very top of the mountain, and they're really far from the beach, but the air is so cool, and being up there is so quiet, so you can hear the wind and the leaves, and that plays into the sound element, but the smell of walking through a grove of eucalyptus trees is just, if you're having a bad day, this will cure it, for sure. I'm convinced.
Yeah.
So yeah, finding smells that are comforting and non-toxic. So much of what we're smelling and, in our environment, there's a lot of stuff going on. Yeah. So essential oils are, if they're pure, if they're therapeutic grade, they are very calming to the nervous system. They do help us relax. They help us connect back with our old roots of wanting to be outside more and, living outside. A lot of people talk about lavender as an important oil for them. That's very relaxing. Right. I think there are so many others.
And I think that we easily could do an entire podcast just on the topic of essential oils.
And we will, I'm sure.
I think we definitely should. Really, really cool what you said, talking in about, almost like the nostalgic aspect.
Yeah,
They say that our memories and the olfactory or whatever are like some of the strongest links, which is so interesting. And there's this certain lipstick smell. And I don't smell it very often because it's like reminds me of my mom's lipstick. But every once in a while, I will like open up a lipstick or somebody will have it on. And there's just this, I get this, it's like a blast to the past, know? It's like I can see myself zoom through time space back to when I was a kid. And it's a great example for me to go like, wow, smell, so powerful.
Right, it is.
And that's not even a natural smell. That's like my mom's, weird random lipstick from when I was a kid.
Right.
So you're saying, and I would kind of maybe even use the same, we were talking about with music, that like you find the thing that you like.
Exactly.
Maybe it's not necessarily lavender that really helps you. Maybe it's a different oil. The salve that you gave me yesterday, I think you said it has blue spruce.
Yep.
And I don't know what it is, but it smells so amazing, and I find it so relaxing. And I just kind of think about, like what you were saying, it's because these smells help me connect with nature, help me connect with something that I don't get as much as I would like because I'm inside and I'm working. And
it's true. It's like, it's easy to tote this little powerful, jar vial of tree oils or plant oils that, that's a good way to put it. That craving of nature, which a lot of us are just wanting more of it. every day.
Right. Well, you talked about walking through the eucalyptus forest. Recently, when I've been out hiking, I'm noticing this like really strong, I think it's a honeysuckle.
Okay.
I don't know exactly, but again, it's like really nostalgic for me. It reminds me of this like honeysuckle smell that I noticed as a kid all the time.
Yeah.
And it just immediately feel better and feel so relaxed. And I think it's an incredible thing for people to kind of explore.
Right.
So whether you order some essential oils or go to, like we have a place in Austin called the Herb Bar, where they just have so many different oils. And you could go and smell some different oils and see what kind of resonates with you and what you like. Or going to the grocery store and, finding really fragrant foods. There's so many different foods that just, smell amazing. Or, you've got garlic, which is, it's so funny. People are so hit or miss. Some people love the smell of garlic.
Yeah.
Some people hate the smell of garlic. But just for like a pungent, strong scent.
Right.
That is, it's very powerful, So when I'm cooking and I'm smelling the garlic and the onion and, you're chopping celery or whatever, everything, it does create that aroma.
Comfort.
Yeah. I find it very
nurturing.
comforting.
And nurturing. And it goes back to like what we're talking about, reducing stress and creating space. Even the interaction of making something with fresh herbs or, even cutting a bunch of lemons. I mean, that's one fruit. You could cut a bag of lemons. I remember when I was pregnant, I had so much morning sickness, but someone told me, cut a bag of lemons and carry a bag of lemons with you. And just smelling fresh lemons was so powerful, and it helped me get through the day. That smell, that kept me, kind of tuned in and away from, however my body was reacting.
That's incredible.
So smell is important. And it's funny because sometimes it's like not, it's synthetic smells too. Sometimes getting in my van, like during the Texas heat, like the heat and the smell of the van, but like if I know we're going to go for a swim, or if I know, we're going for a hike or a walk, and that time of like, turning on the AC and the van's hot and it's like not even the best smell. You kind of feel like you're in this little tomb of sorts. But like that leads to something that my body recognizes as healthy. Yeah. So, whatever it is, the nostalgia connected to smell and how you can increase that or decrease something that might be, a lot of people just burn really toxic candles. I myself love candles, but you can make choices to still really enhance your space that, your body will adjust to also. So yeah, smell is important for sure for relaxation and de-stressing.
That, will be another good thing to go into maybe when we're doing the essential oil podcast, is also kind of talking about a lot of these, air fresheners and those little Glade plug-in things, and even like our colognes and perfumes and so many of these scents. They literally are toxic. Many of them are taken from petroleum products, and there's just so many negative things about them when there are just infinite numbers of ways to get really, really delightful smells from really healthy, natural sources.
Exactly.
Whether it's food or growing herbs or, one of my friends has a rosemary plant growing in his front yard. And every time I leave, I just grab like the little tiniest little sprig of that rosemary and rub it between my fingers. And it's amazing.
Yeah. And that actually cements memory in the hippocampus, rosemary. So with children, it's really good too. We've been using rosemary since birth, but you think about it with holidays too. It also brings up this like feeling, because a lot of our traditions involve rosemary, or could, or
Right.
other spices. So yeah, rosemary is very relaxing.
Yeah,
and comforting.
and I remember a couple years ago when the whole pumpkin spice thing got really huge, and it was like pumpkin spice lattes and pumpkin spice this and like and I thought, God, what is the deal with pumpkin spice? And then I realized it's the nostalgia.
Yeah.
It's because we associate those smells of nutmeg
and cinnamon.
and cinnamon.
Right,
It's
and
our
clove.
family. It's, being at home. It's eating delicious food.
It's
and
being
so,
warm and comforted.
yeah, there's
you know?
like,
Yeah.
I think people do like pumpkin pie and they like those pumpkin spice things or whatever, but
Right.
it's this really strong emotional nostalgic element that
Yeah,
I think.
it's more the spice than the pumpkin after all.
Yes, it is more the spice than the pumpkin.
Yeah, cool. Yes, I agree.
So let's go into another sense.
Okay.
We talked about sound, we talked about smells. So from a visual aspect, we talked about getting outdoors, looking at the trees, the birds, the flowers, the plants. I think for me, there's such a strong component of that, which is just getting away from a computer screen and from my phone and
Right.
from the TV and from the fluorescent lights. And, do you think that there, are visual elements that contribute to us feeling really, really stressed out?
For sure. Definitely. I also think driving. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
the element of how we've trained ourselves to be like these stealth mode drivers, driving super fast in construction in crazy freeways, and we act like it's no big deal. But think about how much visual stimulation we're taking in.
Oh.
And I notice a lot with my daughter too. It's like, it's just so much happening all at once. And so the pace of that also, like the visual stimulation and the pace of which your body is moving, I don't think, if it really comes down to it, like I don't think our bodies really understand what's going on. And we're used to it, and we've kind of just grown up this way with, driving everywhere, and that's what we do. But the visual stimulation that comes from taking a walk and just receiving information at the pace of walking definitely brings us back to the more natural element of what we crave and who we are, which is having this connection with the earth or where we are or our family. That stimulation that comes from pace, I think really has an effect on relaxation.
Yeah, and hearing you say that, I'm just like 100% can think of specific times when I've noticed that happening. So, comparing when, pretty much every time I drive, I pretty much take the back roads, so to speak, rather than
That's
getting
good.
on the highway.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? I would rather stop at every stop sign and every stoplight than deal with, that. And that's probably what it is just the faster pace.
Oh, yeah.
Of cars racing by you, and there's more stuff. And then probably the biggest thing for me is that when I have to get on, for lack of a better term, I call it highway spaghetti. When the highways start going all crazy and they're looping around, and when I get on that stuff, I can feel the muscles in my body tighten up. I can feel my mind shift. If I'm in the car with somebody and I'm having a conversation, I have to say, you have to stop for a second.
Yeah.
Me
too.
I have to navigate this highway spaghetti, and then once we're back, just going straight on something, we can continue this
Exactly.
conversation. I can't even talk while I'm trying to do it.
Right.
And that makes perfect sense hearing you say that. Just the huge amount of visual stimulation coming in.
Yeah.
It totally maxes me out.
Yeah, me too. And a lot of my clients, and there are certain routes where you can't avoid a freeway.
Right.
And so you have to commit to that pretty regularly. And I just think it's a good reminder to be easy on yourself, because that is hardcore.
Yeah.
Not getting in an accident and being in a busy place where it's bumper to bumper and construction. Give yourself more space for that if that is a part of your day, whether it's more time, whether it's taking the back roads,
Or when you arrive to the place that, like, you know, sometimes after I have a really stressful drive, when I get to where I'm going, time provided, I just turn off my car and I just like sit in my car for a minute.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I just need to regroup myself. So
Exactly.
I just want to like sit there. Oh, I made it. I'm so grateful that I made it. I'm so grateful and thankful that my car got me here.
Yep.
And that I wasn't in an accident or anything. And then it's like I just have to kind of gather myself mentally, so to speak.
Yes.
And, you know, where it's not that way when I'm just driving back roads and whatever, and I get to where I'm going and I really don't feel that stressed.
Right.
You know, but when we think about something that most of us have to do for several hours a day, especially for those people that commute, man, maybe that would be a good topic for a podcast even, you know, because I think that, again, we're in such a hurry, we're in such a race, that, you know, we don't even realize all of these elements of stimulation and like potential stressors that we, you know, are exposed to all day long, all throughout the day.
Yeah.
And that kind of necessitate us saying like, hey, so now I'm just going to take a couple minutes to like ground back down, or, you know, step outside and take, you know, 3 minutes in the fresh air before I continue my day.
And just, you know, prioritizing your own stress level too, because for me, there are times where I have to get to where I'm going and I have to put up with whatever it is. Mm-hmm. And maybe the element of music or having essential oils in my car, something that can help me hang in there.
Yeah.
But if you're not super hard on yourself, and hopefully you have a certain amount of kind of like buffer space, just getting off the road. You know, if you're in it and it's just too intense and you're feeling like way stressed, pull off. You know, get outside. I mean, even stopping at a rest area, it's like you don't really do it unless you're on a road trip, but like sometimes, like, my commute home, I'm like, I just need to stop for a little bit.
Yeah.
Even though the commute isn't that long, if traffic's crazy or there's an accident.
Or you've just had a stressful day.
Exactly.
I mean, there's so many times that, like, when I get in my car at the end of my day, I'm already at, like, my max stress level, and I haven't even started driving through the traffic yet.
Right,
like, I'm just already at my maximum.
Yeah.
You know, and then isn't it true that there's some element of truth behind this idea of, like, I've heard it called decision fatigue.
Okay.
Like, there's only so many decisions you can make or something in a day. I mean, is that true?
I mean, it's gotta be. I think about people that drive like a truck for a living sometimes, and I'm like, man, how do they not get maxed out? Because that's a lot of decision making. I'm sure those people get really good at it. But yeah. And so much of what we're doing in our day doesn't even include that time of, you know, getting from place to place.
Right.
So giving yourself permission, like if you've had a really crazy day, whatever it means, take it slow, you know, go slower if you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, practice your breathing. I know when I'm in traffic, the breathing techniques, you know, it doesn't even have to be a technique. Maybe it's just a reminder. Maybe you have something around you that just reminds you to just take a deep breath, you know?
Definitely.
Just be in that moment. That's where you are, and you're okay, hopefully, and...
Yeah, and then, you know, I would just encourage people to check out your self-care program, where you've actually outlined some stretching and self-massage that can really help people to feel better and reduce their stress. And for those of you listening that are in a relationship, or, you know, even if it's your kids, your parents, you know, encouraging people to work on each other.
Definitely.
And let go of that taboo that it's, you know, it's too challenging or it's too difficult. You know, to a large extent, there's just so much benefit that just somebody having the intention to help someone else is going to do so much. And then if they pair that with, you know, the videos you've done teaching people how to help a friend with a headache or how to help a friend relax, you know,
Which you can use on yourself too.
Yeah.
And even, I mean, sometimes maybe you're not even in the space to touch someone, or you don't have enough effort, but you can just listen to the video and visualize your muscles relaxing. You talked about, your body scan, like even that simple practice of laying down and noticing where you're tight. And I really encourage people to work on each other, because you don't have to be a licensed massage therapist to give a good massage. Your intention just has to be, to help people. And if you have, a partner or someone who's very specific about what they want, which I have a lot of clients that tell me, especially women, about their partner, that they want to tell them exactly. I would just say, to the partner, be open to just, if someone is in pain and you can push really hard on a specific spot in a way that's safe, but that makes them feel better, take that in, help them out, because if your partner is gonna be more relaxed, ultimately that helps everyone in the scenario. Yeah. So, I really try to encourage people to just be open when they're working on each other, or yourself for that matter, because working on yourself, I think, is a bit more challenging, because you just have to put yourself first and make the time for it. And then when you're done, you feel, even when I do self-massage for 5 minutes, even laying on a yoga block for 5 minutes, under my low back, it's like, wow, like even just 5 minutes of that dedication to myself to just feel a little bit better changes the whole day, changes my interactions with people, and keeps me a little more in that space of gratitude. And and even just noticing being well. I notice that, when I'm really sick, I'm like, whoa, most of the time I feel really good. Yeah. But when you're well, you're kind of just thinking about what you got to do in your day. So the noticing of your own, body's amazing ability to be well and to go through a lot of stress in your day, and, to come out feeling pretty good with maybe some aches and pains, like that's pretty good. If you can keep yourself in that space, it will really help.
Awesome. Well, Chandler, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, and I'm just so looking forward to, we talked in a previous discussion about is massage therapy the fountain of youth? I think that would be a very interesting podcast. We also talked about doing the essential oils as a topic, so I'm just so looking forward to learning more from you, and want to thank you so much for joining us here.
Thank you, Karina, and as always, you teach me so much, so thank you for sharing all your stories as well. I'm happy to be here.
It's so sweet. Thank you. I definitely feel the same way. We want to thank all of you for listening and potentially watching on wellnessplus.tv as well. You can find lots of different courses from Chandler over on Amazon and on wellnessplus.tv. So I hope that you will check those out. And I do hope that you will join us again for another Wellness Plus podcast. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day.